Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. So we'll wait for the students to join in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So actually, this is a new batch from Spurti College.
So good morning, students. And I will request you to, if you can switch on your cameras, please.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. So I will request all of you, please switch on your camera, please. Well, I will wait for another few minutes. So if you can request your friends to join the session, and then we'll start. Hello, Hari Lakshmi ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Please let me
Sir,
know.
this is from Kionis Arun Kumar, sir.
Yeah, hi Arun Kumar.
Yes,
Just
sir.
let me know when I can start the session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just 2 to 3 minutes, sir.
Sure, sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
Yes, good morning.
sir, they are joining. You can start the class now, sir.
So, very good morning to everybody. And today is basically going to be our first session and also an auspicious day because today is basically the starting of Durga Puja and Navaratri, right? So I will just request all of you if you can just switch on your camera and if you can just brief about yourself and what course you're pursuing and what is you want to achieve in future. If you can 1 or 2 minutes, if you can just introduce yourself. So I request few of you, the volunteers, who can come and speak about yourself. Yes, students, I want this to be more of an interactive session. While other of your friends are joining, I want some of you to switch on your camera and just introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. I'm Rekha Rachel. I'm professor in Shashadpuram First Grade College. Since I'm doing a research in Jain University, so this is based on AI. So I want to update and upskill my knowledge in this area. So I have joined this course. Thank you, sir.
So others, if you can come onto the camera and just kindly volunteer yourself and introduce yourself, that will be great. While other of your friends are joining. Okay, let me share my screen. And please let me know once you're able to see my screen. So hello students, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. And students, I want this to be interactive because here you have all come to learn and together we want to basically go and discover a new area of basically of knowledge. What you can see is basically, I'm going to talk about the trains and mega trains that is happening around the world. And I have got more than 2.5 decades of experience and worked in multiple companies and industries in multiple roles, right? I want to bring my experience to you and I have traveled around the world. And what are the things happening around the world? I'm also going to talk about to you. So it will be great that if you are interactive, then we can basically talk to each other and understand the subject much, much better. Right? So first of all, we wanted to talk about and tell me what you understand by Industry 4.0. Yes, student. So what you understand by Industry 4.0? Any volunteers? Well, as you know, in 1770, what we call is the first industrial revolution that happened when there was a mechanization and the water power was used basically to have, and also the steam power, right? And with that, some of the machines were moved and basically the work that started for the industry, we call that Industry 1.0. After that, almost 100 years later, we have basically the second industrial revolution when the invent of the electricity came. Right? With the electricity came, there was mass production, assembly line could be done, and electricity driven, some of the machines were running, and with that, the start of the factories started. So that was around 1870, right? Now, after almost 100 years, right, we have the computer came, that is around 1970. And with this computer, the automation and came also, and where you can see a lot of the blue collar workers in the factories were moved into and kind of automation, right? And of course, India from the 1990 onwards took the computer, and basically, as you can see, there's so many Indian companies started working on that. And now India is one of the powerhouse in the IT sector. After that, what we see is basically the fourth industrial revolution, where the whole network of machines that are talking to each other. Then we can see the setup of intelligent factories, the smart machines that talk to each other, diagnose the problem on their own. And this interaction of these machines, what happens is that the whole era of the industry came into a different state together. The whole ecosystem of the industrial revolution, what we see today, where, for example, if there is a ship that is coming from the sea, each container has got some barcodes, right? Now it can talk to the port and find it out whether all the cranes and everything is ready or not. Back end, you can see whether the trucks or basically the railway wagons are ready to carry it out or not. Next is that based on the factories, they can understand how much time they will take those material to come to their factories. Now, each of them are talking to each other, and which basically create a system of interacting with each other, right? So we can see there is a great change the way we are working with the smart factories that are coming up, the smart way of working that is coming up. Now, all those things started with the Industry 4.0. Yes, student. Any question from your side? So in short, Industry 4.0 is the buzzword that is running around us, right? It is basically referred to the fourth industrial revolution, where we have seen transforming knowledge that have changed industry from what was seen previously, right? A lot of the mechanical work has been automated. We can see that the machines are talking to each other. There has been a concept of digital twin that has come up. And of course, I will talk to you about what are the things we can see in the Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 sees the smart factories that I told you, connected machines and intelligent robots. Right? So what you are seeing is that there are Industry 4.0 has many components. One is the autonomous systems that programs machinery and robots to act automatically or autonomously. Next is the cloud computing, right? Use remote servers to store, manage process data for faster processes. Additive manufacturing, that is digital 3D design data to build in layers by depositing materials. Augmented reality, that's what we call is the AR. Then is the VR, virtual reality is the big data, where one can determine further actions and improve the processes, because huge enormous of data that is getting generated by this interacting of the machines, and IoT, which I'm going to talk into the next sessions. Next is the Internet of Things that connect internet to machine to send and receive and process data. Then cyber security, as you know, since with the cloudifications of this, and also there so much of hacking that is happening around the world, the cyber security plays an important role, and protect manufacture the most valuable data. Next is the big data. Basically, huge enormous data is getting generated, and analysis of this huge data in a structured way or in an unstructured data need to be done, right? So we're going to talk about basically what are the components of this. But most of the things that we see in the Industry 4.0 is about the artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, cognitive learning that has come, and which basically helping the industry in a different way altogether. Yes, student, anything more questions you have got? Okay, before you get little, we will go and see a video also. Just let me take you and show your video. Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
What does it mean for you? Technology is driving change across all areas of society. Not only do we increasingly use it and even rely on it in our personal lives, we also find our workplaces digitally evolving, with more and more processes now being undertaken using technology. This change is known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 will see many tasks that were once performed by us now being automated. With the collection and analysis of real-time data, artificial intelligence, and the ability for
You can
all
understand one thing, that all the information is gathered at the real time, right? So as you can see, whole globally, the industry 4.0 is generating enormous amount of data, right? And there are basically billions of IoT devices. They are also talking to each other. For example, if you think of a smartphone, right, that you are using that smartphone, you can basically switch on your TV, you can switch on your AC, you can have your washing machine switched on, right? Or you can have some of the fans if you want, or the lights, you can switch on or switch off using your smart mobile. So you can see a kind of a changes, the paradigm shift that has happened from before. Now using one small mobile phone, you can basically interact with multiple other devices at your home.
components of a production line to talk to each other, production can be really efficient and personalized according to customer needs. But what does this mean for us? With increased automation, our time will be freed up for concentrating on more complex tasks. We will need a workforce who are capable of building, programming, and developing these technologies, but also making sure we are applying them to our lives in an ethical way. There are core skills that we can offer that technology cannot replace. The human touch is going to be incredibly important, ensuring effective communication, problem solving, and supporting change management in this digital environment. There will also be a greater need for joint working across disciplines, creating new innovations. The future job market will be looking for graduates with an open mind to explore the unknown future
So I hope
possibilities.
all of you are ready to go and learn this, and the sky is not even the limit for all of you, right?
We will all need to develop our skills in order to embrace, adapt to this ever-changing environment. What will you do to make sure you are ready and have the right skills to thrive in the fourth industrial revolution? You. Technology is driving
Right.
change.
So as you can see here, that technology is ever changing, right? And we need to adapt to that. For example, you can see with the industry 4.0, your smart factories that has come. Now, for example, the assembly lines, if you go and see the Toyota assembly lines, right? They basically have got a continuous movement of basically the assembly line that is happening, and they have got each of the based on the already program what kind of a car they're going to have. They have basically all the material that is available, and the workers are just getting those things assembled into the continuous moving assembly line, right? Now, how this is also happened, you have to think through. Now, if you learn about the processes the factories are going to manage and keep, is basically that is just a minute jam, also basically to keep the inventory low. they need to basically ensure from where they're getting the material. They will have going to create an ecosystem of basically their subcomponent manufacturer, or basically from where the vendors they're going to provide the materials to them. Whenever they find that basically in the stock, those material is basically less, automatically there will be a generation of purchase order, and that will basically trigger to the vendors to provide those materials so that they can get those materials in correct time, and so that there is no stoppage of the assembly line. Because if there is a stoppage of assembly line, what happens? There is a huge loss, because again he has to restart it. Next is that if they have a huge stock of the material, then what happens is that they are going to be a carrying cost, or basically the cost of production will increase and they will be non-competitive. You have seen what has happened during the COVID times, right? This whole logistic industry went for a topsy-turvy. For example, the automobile industry, which basically depended on the semiconductors, it was not getting the conductors on a right time. So some of the manufacturers had to stop basically manufacturing of the product, and the prices of the automobiles also increased. So what you can see is basically it's a cycle that need to be managed, where each and everybody is interacting with each other in a positive way, so that you can get the benefit out of it. Now let's move on to the topic where most of you are interested in, artificial intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence was, just let me walk you through some theories, then we will talk about the practical experience of what I have also around the world, right? So for example, I've studied in Paderborn University also, which has got the world's largest computer lab. We'll talk about some of the industries, the trends and mega trends that is also happening, and how you can adapt to that, and how you can basically get maximum benefit out of it also. So artificial intelligence was founded as an academic discipline in 1956, right? It was the Professor John McCarthy at a conference in Dartmouth in UK, where basically he first talked about the artificial intelligence. And that is way, way back in 1956, right? It's a long back that basically the discussion of artificial intelligence started. The AI research was carried and discouraged by many different approaches since its founding, and including the simulation of the brain, the modeling of human problem solving, the formal logic, and large database for knowledge, and imitating the animal behavior. That was initially they started with how they can imitate the animal behavior and later on human behavior, and that was how they wanted to get it into with the artificial intelligence. Next is the traditional goals of AI research includes reasoning, knowledge representation, planning, learning, and natural language processing and perception, and ability to move and manipulate objects. Right? So in short, basically, AI is the science of getting machines to mimic the behavior of humans. The machine learning is basically a subset of AI that focuses on getting the machines to make the decision by feeding them the data. And I was talking about the deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning that uses the concept of neural network to solve the complex problems. So AI learning is a technique to achieve a machine learning, right? And what happens is that it is basically the AI is divided into generalized learning, reasoning, and problem solving, and which we are going to learn in the next few slides. So artificial intelligence is an intelligence demonstration by machines. AI research has been defined as a field of study of intelligent agents, which refers to any systems that perceives the environment and takes actions that minimizes its chance of achieving its goals. So in short term, the artificial intelligence has been previously used to describe the machines that mimic and display human cognitive skills that are associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. Any question till now for this definition? I know these are basically a little bit boring. When we go to the definition, we will talk about the practicality, and basically the next slides will provide you more examples. So before I move on to the next slide, any question from anybody? Okay, so basically just walking through the definition, then we'll go basically more of an examples. AI researchers have adopted and integrated a wide range of problem-solving techniques, including the search and mathematical optimization and formal logic and artificial neural network and methods based on the statistics, probability, and economics, right? And this also drawn on the computer science of psychology, linguistic, philosophy, and many other fields. The field are found on the assumptions that human intelligence can be precisely described, that machine can be made and simulated, right? So using basically huge number of data that is available, using the machine learning, right? How you can basically help to mimic the human beings or basically provide the thinking process. What makes the human different from others? It is basically the thinking process, right? How to build that thinking process into the machine so that it can act on its own. Any questions, students? Otherwise, I will take you through a video and which will provide you much more example on machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Picture this, a machine that could organize your cupboard just as you like it, or serve every member of the house a customized cup of coffee. Makes your day easier, doesn't it? These are the products of artificial intelligence. But why use the term artificial intelligence? Well, these machines are artificially incorporated with human-like intelligence to perform tasks as we do. This intelligence is built using complex algorithms and mathematical functions. But AI may not be as obvious as in the previous examples. In fact, AI is used in smartphones, cars, social media feeds, video games, banking, surveillance.
So can you give me one example of basically AI that you are seeing in your smartphone? Yes, student. Any volunteer? Hello, students. I want this to be interactive. Can you give me an example of an AI that you're seeing in your smartphone?
Yes, sir. It recognizes the contact numbers, contact names. When I call, automatically it calls that particular, contact number. If I say call mom, it identifies that name. That is one of the application of AI.
Voice recognition, right? Using your voice recognition, it can basically operate. For example, image recognition. You've got the face recognition, right? Some of the mobile phone starts with the facial recognition, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now you have the autonomous cars, right? Where you've got seen the Tesla and others. That is used, but with what? That is using the artificial intelligence, isn't it? Now in the social media, I know most of you are buying maybe from Google, Flipkart, right? Mantra, or any other social, basically websites also, right? Now, how that basically, for example, you like the cricket, for example, right? Automatically, if you type a ball, it will show on the cricket ball. In fact, in the Google, basically, if you can see the, if you type which you have the past history, take into account of your past history, right? And based on your past history, what is it doing? It basically searches what you have searched before or what you are thinking of them. For example, if you think of the YouTube, right? YouTube, maybe you have been watching some of the YouTube on basically, maybe you have got a pet, you have got a cat or a dog, right? If you have been looking into those kind of videos, it automatically, if you go to your YouTube, you will find a lot of basically YouTube videos. Or basically, if you want to hear some music, maybe musical videos, for example, you want classical songs, you will see a lot of basically those kind of songs popping up in YouTube. For example, if you go to Amazon, right, based on your search history, based on your purchases, right, what it does, it throws you the list of basically what you have purchased before in the initial basically search list. It reduces your search or basically the brands. For example, you are only buying Nike, you have been looking into the Nike, so you can find all the Nike products that are basically popping up in your screen. Isn't it, student? Yes, students. Hello.
Yes, students, you can interact with the sir, right? Sir is asking questions, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, otherwise I will think that you're not able to hear me, right? So in between, please answer so that I know that you have been hearing me also. Let's go to the video.
And many other aspects of our daily life. The real question is, what does an AI do at its core? Here is a robot we built in our lab, which is now dropped onto a field. In spite of a variation in lighting, landscape, and dimensions of the field, the AI robot must perform as expected. This ability to react appropriately to a new situation is called generalized learning. The robot is now at a crossroad, one that is paved and the other rocky. The robot must determine which path to take based on the circumstances. This portrays the robot's reasoning ability. After a short stroll, the robot now encounters a stream that it cannot swim across. Using the plank provided as an input, the robot is able to cross this stream. So, our robot uses the given input and finds the solution for a problem. This is problem solving.
Right, so you can see how basically artificial intelligence is basically used, right? And how we can try to come in the next slides and in our discussion, how we are getting benefit of the AI also.
These three capabilities make the robot artificially intelligent.
So if you see what are the three things, can anybody answer? Yes, students.
For a problem. This is problem solving. These three capabilities
So,
make the
generalized learning,
robot
reasoning,
artificially
problem solving,
intelligent.
right?
In short, AI provides machines with the capability to adapt, reason, and provide solutions. Well, now that we know what AI is, let's have a look at the two broad categories an AI is classified into. Weak AI, also called narrow AI, focuses solely on one task.
So can you give me an example of weak AI? Anybody? Since you're all learning AI, can you give me an example of weak AI?
For example, AlphaGo is a maestro of the game Go, but you can't expect it to be even remotely good at chess. This makes AlphaGo a weak AI. You might say Alexa is definitely not a weak AI, since it can perform
So I hope all of you heard of Alexa, right? So if you ask Alexa, please play this music, please switch on the light, please switch on the TV. We're all becoming lazy, right? Asking Alexa to do the work for us, isn't it? So Alexa is not a strong AI, it's a weak AI.
multiple tasks. Well, that's not really true. When you ask Alexa to play Despacito, it picks up the keywords play and Despacito and runs a program it is trained to. Alexa cannot respond to a question it isn't trained to answer. For instance, try asking Alexa the status of traffic from work to home. Alexa cannot provide you this information, as she is not trained to. And that brings us to our second category of AI, strong AI. Now, this is much like the robots that only exist in fiction as of now. Ultron from Avengers is an ideal example of a strong AI. That's because it's self-aware and eventually even develops emotions. This makes the AI's response unpredictable. You must be wondering, well, how is artificial intelligence different from machine learning and deep learning? we saw what AI is. Machine learning is a technique to achieve AI, and deep learning, in turn, is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning provides a machine with...
So as you can see, machine learning is a subset of AI, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning, right?
the capability to learn from data and experience through algorithms. Deep learning does this learning through ways inspired by the human brain. This means through deep learning, data and patterns can be better perceived. Ray Kurzweil, a well-known futurist, predicts that by the year 2045, we would have robots as smart as humans. This is called the point of singularity. Well, that's not all. In fact, Elon Musk predicts that the human mind and body will be enhanced by AI implants, which would make us partly cyborgs.
So already students, research are going on, and they have already implanted some of the chips into the human body. For example, you don't have to carry your credit card in your hand, baby palm. There are basically chips so that you can basically using it and make your payment. Now, there are basically pros and cons on the cyborgs. For example, you and your student, your fellow friend is there, right? Now, if he or she has got basically chips into that, right? And he goes for the examination. Now, he will, of course, much do better because all the information is available in the chip and can be used. Whereas you are not having those chips, maybe you're not going to able to answer all the questions. The pros are basically the cons, as you can see, is basically if somebody hacked into that person will be basically acting on behalf of basically the hacker that basically uses him or her. Or if there is malfunction of the chip, that person will have got real problem. If you must be knowing about the chatbot, right? That ChatGPT also. Now, what happens in ChatGPT? It's basically based on the OpenAI. Whatever question it can basically write essay for you. It can basically provide you a lot of inputs, right? But if it is not used in a proper way, then basically there can be a lot of, in fact, problems and issues that can come. In fact, the person who has developed the ChatGPT now is looking for the governments so that that can be regularized, right? It should not be unregularized, and proper monitoring of that need to be done because they're fearing that one day it can create a lot of damage to human society. Even Elon Musk and others are also asking the government to basically look and monitor of the development of AI, because what they fear is that later on the AI should not take over the human and can create a lot of problems. So there are pros and cons. Of course, again, we're going to discuss in our sessions, but I want you all to be more of interactive. See, I've got throat infection still, I'm talking a lot, but I want all of you to interact with me and so that we can learn together much, much more.
So, here's a question for you.
So,
which of the below...
Let's go to the our slide, right? And let me stop sharing. And first, I wanted to check with all of you whether you have got any questions. You have seen nowadays the way how basically using AI, the work is happening, right? What we are seeing is that the world, there is a lot of basically the whole ecosystem is basically we are using it. In fact, if you see how the Russia-Ukraine war that is happening, for example, right? You've seen how basically initially what happened, it was basically the cyber attack happened, right? So in Ukraine, initially, all basically the networks were blocked and basically the computers and the hackers came and basically created a huge problem to take over basically the infrastructure. Next, you have seen how the drone war started, right? Using the Barak from Turkey, and they were able to create real damage to the Russian, basically, tanks and other armored vehicles. Then Russia started using its drones Now, of course, Russia is able to produce much larger number of drones and able to basically inflict a lot of damage to the Ukraine. The main example of the drone war, if you see, started with Azerbaijan and Armenia war, where Azerbaijan, using the Turkish drone, was able to damage the Armenian tanks and armored vehicles and could win that war. Now, how these drones are working? These drones are working based on the artificial intelligence, right? Now, for example, if you can think of basically some of the bad effect of the drones also. Now, if there is an image recognition that happens and there is a swarm drone that is sent and it wanted to basically kill those people who, based on the recognition, the facial recognition they want to go, nothing can stop them. They will just go. They can be like small flies, right? They can basically, and hundreds and thousands of that comes and attack. Then, of course, it will be very, very detrimental to the human beings. Of course, those are basically some of the not good effect of the development of AI. Now, for example, using facial recognition, you can see that in China, they're basically trying and monitoring the Uyghur Muslims, right? So as you can see, there are some good effect, there are some bad effect also. Now think of basically using AI. You have seen that in case of USA, there are a lot of shooting happens in the universities and schools. Now, if using AI, they can basically see if any student is going any psychological issues or problems, or basically depending upon that the student needs some attention, right? Now, those are basically using the algorithm and this thing, they can fix it beforehand, rather than getting into such a disaster where so many of the innocent students or teachers are getting killed. Next is that, for example, if you think of basically having a terrorist or a criminal, right? Now, if in the city that has come, using the facial recognition, if they can identify immediately, and then they can basically send those police nearby to catch that person. So your society where you're staying can be absolutely be safe. For example, you have been traveling in a bus or a train, right? If a terrorist comes wanted to attack you or the people who are traveling in that, if they can immediately identify that person, right? It can basically send message to the nearby police and they can basically identify and basically catch that person. Now, if you go to the airport, right? In fact, there are hundreds and thousands of basically cameras out there. They keep on monitoring. And when they find any person of suspicious behavior, or they have got a pattern, right? Based on the pattern, if they find that there is some suspicion on that person using the facial recognition or basically the movement of that person's, because it's very, very difficult for thousands of people to go and monitor, right? Now, using those cameras, they have got an algorithm, and based on that, if they find any suspicion, they can basically ask the nearby security to come and check, or they can start keeping monitoring of that person. And that is how all the international airport or all the airports using this technique, they are trying to basically reduce the possibility of any criminal offense or any attack in the airports. So maybe next time when you go to the airports, you will find it may not be visible to the human eyes. Also, there are thousands of cameras that are basically located in different parts. For example, if you go to Singapore, right? In case of Singapore, there are hundreds and thousands of cameras, right? And each of those cameras or this thing basically keep on monitoring the people and also basically the traffic or any criminal activity happening or not. And they have got basically the police rooms where from there they keep on monitoring that. Isn't it? So as you can see, there are some major benefits that we can see from the AI, and using the AI, also using the facial recognition, or basically there are, for example, think of basically a drone, right? When it's traveling, depending upon any other obstacles that is coming away, it can be some rain happening or storm happening, how it can basically on itself can think through and basically maneuver itself and reach the destination. So as you can see, there has been lot of development, especially in case of defense also. You can see huge number of AI-driven vehicles, AI-driven basically equipments are getting manufactured. That basically reduces the human basically casualties also, right? Because if you think of basically for example, our enemy or basically not friendly nations want to monitor those borders. You can have basically AI-driven machines with a camera and basically using surveillance, and they can look into those areas, right? And if they find any suspicious object, they can immediately provide the information to the backend, and from there they can take any action. In basically industries also, what is happening now? Some of you will be working on some industry also, right? The tickets that are getting basically the issues that are getting raised, right? If it is basically using your machine learning, right? Using your cognitive learning, right? You can basically find out the pattern if those kind of errors has already come, right? You can use basically the chatbot or basically automate the whole process, and you can resolve them. So what is happening? Less human touch processes are getting adopted, and basically shift of tickets are happening, and that is why you can reduce your cost. Because India, for example, is a major IT player. Now, what happens? The industries around the world, they will be also looking into basically process automation, the system automation, and how basically you're going to provide the benefit to your customers. And for that, what is happening? A lot of machine learning is basically, an AI is being used so that to automate the whole processes, right? So as you can see, this will also in your day-to-day life, when you go and start working on the industry, you will be able to adopt your learning this there. Yeah, any question, please? Yeah, any question? Yeah, if you have got any question, please let me know. So let's see whatever the world leaders are saying in the next video. Okay. So next video, we are going to see what is our leaders are saying.
Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft are all moving ahead at a great speed in improving this artificial intelligence software. So it's very exciting. Software is going to solve that, where it'll look at all the new information and present to you, knowing about your interests, what would be most valuable. So making us more efficient.
We're focusing on what we've talked about on autonomous systems. And we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. So autonomy is something that's incredibly exciting for us. We'll see where it takes us.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if someday we got to the point where there were robots every place, they were running farms, they were running Apple, they were running Berkshire Hathaway, and all you had to do was one person could punch a button at the start of every morning, and all the goods and services that we're getting now would be turned out by robots.
It is seeping into our lives in all sorts of ways that we just don't notice. We're just getting better and better at it, and we're seeing that happen in every aspect of our lives, from medicine to transportation to how electricity is distributed. It promises to create a vastly more productive and efficient economy, and if properly harnessed, can generate enormous prosperity for people, opportunity for people, and cure diseases that we haven't seen before, can make it because it eliminates get better in a lot of work.
Any question, please? Or if you're not speaking, you can be on mute, please. So as you can see, the world leaders, right? Bill Gates, or basically the president of USA, so all talking about how basically the artificial intelligence will change the world, right? And I think all of you are in the right course, because that is basically the future where AI is going to play a dominant role into the upcoming era, right? And where you will see more and more development that is happening in AI.
Artificial intelligence is going to be extremely helpful, and the risk that it gets super smart, that's way out in the future, and probably we're talking about. But now what we're seeing is that for the first time, computers can see as well as humans. That's pretty incredible.
NHTSA did a study on Tesla's Autopilot version 1, which is relatively primitive, and found that it was a 45% reduction in highway accidents. And that's despite Autopilot 1 being just version 1. Version 2, I think, will be at least 2 or 3 times better. That's the current version that's running right now. So the rate of improvement is really dramatic. We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity.
AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. Now, I think of it as something more profound than electricity or fire. And anytime you work with technology, you need to learn to harness the benefits and while minimizing the downsides. You know, stepping back, when you think about, a lot of problems in the world, today it's because we typically have a constraint on resources. AI, for the first time, I think over time, offers a different construct. Things which are constrained and look like a zero-sum game today may not be so in the future. Take education, for example. It's really difficult to educate people in a cost-effective way. AI may fundamentally change that equation. It may make it possible for us to have clean, cheap, renewable energy for the future. So I think a lot of things will play out in more positive ways than people think.
I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. I'm talking maybe 18 months from now.
The idea that there's going to be a general AI overlord that subjugates us or kills us all, I think is not something to worry about. I think that is overhyped. First of all, we don't know, we're nowhere close to knowing how to build a general AI, something that could set its own objectives. But second of all, I think it's unlikely that such a thing's first instincts would be to exterminate us. So I'm optimistic about that one, and certainly don't think we need to worry about it today.
Okay, so does artificial intelligence fascinate you? Yes, students. A question to all of you. Yes, students. Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
sir,
students.
it's audible, sir.
So students, for example, when I was in Germany, there has been research in the BMW that was going on, right? Where basically, as you can see, whenever a car that comes with the lights on, it becomes very, very difficult for basically the driver opposite side to drive, right? If the light falls on the eyes, automatically the lights get dimmed, or basically it is lowered itself when they see an approaching car is coming. So how it is done? It is basically done based on the understanding, right, that there is another car or a vehicle coming from opposite side, so it need to lower its basically the light or it has to dim the light so that the opposite driver does not get affected by the light beam, right? So next is, for example, there are basically smart fridge, for example. Now you have got different places like fruits, milk, and other thing. Once it sees that those items are basically are not there, or maybe the level of the milk, for example, is basically less, automatically it triggers kind of order to nearby grocery shop. So what happens? By the time you come from your office, you find all the items that is lying in front of your door, which is required, and you only need to put it into the fridge, into those particular cells. Similarly, in Europe, as you know, there are basically what happens, your washing machine consumes a lot of energy. And it is the dynamic pricing of the electricity out there. For example, depending upon the usage of the electricity, it is generally high during the daytime and it is generally low during the nighttime. So what happens? The washing machine is a smart washing machine. It is how that it will work using the AI, that it try to find out which is the lowest basically the electricity rate, and it generally starts working at that time. So you get a basically electricity efficient washing machine in your house, which reduces the electricity bill. For example, it starts at the 1 a.m. in the morning when it finds basically the electricity charges is the less, and it basically the time you woke up from your bed, you find all your clothes has been washed and you only basically need to hang them. So as you can see, there is basically the efficient way how using the AI one can basically get and reap the benefit of that. So student, can you give me some good benefit of the AI that is coming to your day-to-day life? Yes, student. Any example you want to give? Okay, let me share my screen again. Now, let us go to some of the examples of AI. Now, what we find is basically how in the Google search engine, how it works. Again, it basically works with the AI, right? When you basically, as I was explaining to you, if you are basically searching a lot of times when you Google, that basically cricket, if you type the ball, it will basically start with the cricket ball. For example, if you have been searching for some kind of an author, the books you have been searching before, all the books of that author will be coming when you search basically the name of the author. Also, what you find is that when you search the few words, automatically based on the search engine before, what you are searching, for example, that comes. This is how this is works. This is based on the AI and based on your previous searches, based on the previous information. Using that information, it helps you to get those information much, much faster. Next is basically you will find when you're watching YouTube or when you go to the Netflix, or basically if you go to the Amazon, based on your past history of the searches or what you have been watching. Or for example, if you put a like any of these videos, automatically the similar kind of videos will be populated. For example, you have seen some web series in Netflix or basically in Amazon, right? And what happens is that based on that, you will find the other serials of that web series coming and popping in your mobile or your laptop, right? So your search becomes much, much faster. Next is basically you have seen how Siri or Alexa can help you basically if you want to basically ask them to play a music for you, if you ask them to basically switch on your TV, or if you want to ask them to change the channel, they will do it for you. Isn't it, student? Now, if you see how the Tesla works, that is also based on the machine learning and the AI. Based on the AI, it is basically able to measure, or basically what is the distance between whether it is a four-wheeler, two-wheeler, or any obstacles are there in front of the car or in the side. So it will help you to monitor the whole driving. So the driverless cars, that's how it works. Now think of some examples. Now, why they're asking for monitoring of this also. Now, if there is any malfunctioning or if an accident happens by this kind of a car, which is autonomous cars, now who will be responsible? Is it the person who has purchased that car, or the person who has done the coding for that car, or basically the person who is sitting in this car? And for example, that accident happens, unfortunately, basically, God grace, it doesn't happen that the other person got an accident, got killed, then who is going to be the responsible for that? So that is why around the world, there are basically a lot of legal aspects are getting into looking at the act need to be formalized so that basically the person who's sitting in the car should not be penalized, or maybe the owner of that car who has autonomous car purchase may not be penalized fully because he doesn't have the control. It is the person who has done the coding has been done. Then whether any malfunction of the coding or any coding tweaking has been done, that also needs to be investigated before coming to the final decision. So as you can see, there are a lot of things around the world that is happening, and those are the things basically will drive our future, how basically autonomous car will be there and how it will perform in the future. So student, any question from your side before I move on to the next slide? Yes, students, any questions? Okay, so goals of AI. One is reasoning, problem solving, knowledge representation, planning, right? Now, using the NLP, you can basically read and understand the human language. Next is basically the perception, because as you can see, this is all done based on the humans, right? The machines that are the AI that has been created, it can have a bias. For example, you can think that if you've got any bias into that in your programming, it will also replicate the same kind of a bias. Now, for example, you want basically in your program, want to have this, the people traveling, for example, from Europe to be recognized in your program. And if you've got a bias on that, it will only have a bias on that, and not selecting the people from Africa. Just giving an example to quote you, because ultimately every human has got some kind of a bias of this thing. Now, those are basically some of the issues what we foresee in when we developed it in the AI or in the kind of reports that comes up from this. Right? So makes this basically able to analyze basically the visual inputs, the speech recognition, the facial recognition, and any other object recognition. Right? And based on that, the AI can basically help us and provides a lot of benefits. Any question now, students, from your side? Before I move on to the next slide. Next is the social intelligence that recognizes, interprets the process or simulate the human feelings and emotions and mood. Next is the general intelligence, right? What we are looking at AI to have. This machine with general intelligence can solve a wide variety of problems, right? And similar to human intelligence, it's able to perform. So that is what basically the thing that we are looking in our AI to have. That if a human is not there, at least it can provide certain thinking of the human thinking and able to resolve the problems based on that. And that is how you will find there are a huge number of robots that are created around the world to perform the task of humans. For example, if you think of in hazardous places like in the mines, if you can send those robots and basically using the AI, they can basically go inside the down inside the earth, dig for, and get the precious metals and bring it up. Right? So if there are basically any issue or any accident happens in the mines, the human life can be saved. For example, in the war, you can see if there are robots or basically using the AI, artificial intelligence, right? If there are basically war machines or robots with arms that go and fight. So what will happen in the war? We will be less human loss will be there. And what we see in the future, that will be basically the war that is going to happen. You have seen those into the Western movies, right? A lot of movies you have seen that basically the robots that is taking over the earth and this thing. So those are basically if we start investing our time, energy, and innovation on the wrong things, then that can be detrimental to the human beings. Isn't it, student? Can you please let me know whether you're able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
So if you find basically, for example, in surgery, you will find there are a lot of robots that are used, and using the artificial intelligence, the operations are getting done. So those are the good benefits of using AI, how basically the doctors can basically do a surgery, and with help of AI, they're able to do the surgery much, much better. You have seen the surgery in the retina that is happening, right? Generally now a lot of doctors prefers basically using AI, using the robots to do those surgery. Basically the programming will be done, and based on that, the surgery is happening. Right? So this is where you can see a lot of benefits that are coming up. Now, just let us go to an area. So the three types of artificial intelligence are there. The artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI, what we call, where you have seen basically Alexa, Siri, those are basically your day-to-day life, are basically the machines that you have seen which are helping us, right? Those are basically ANI, or the artificial narrow intelligence. And what is happening using the machine learning and AI, we are able to perform those machines are performing. And most important thing you need to understand are those machines specializes in only one area and solves only one problem. If you give them multiple problems and this thing, they will not able to resolve or will not able to work. Right? Next is basically artificial general intelligence, or AGI, where basically here it refers to a computer that is as smart as a human across the different areas or fields. Example of this is basically the ChatGPT, which is basically using the machine learning and AI. It's able to perform multitasking. Right? It can do a essay, write an essay for you. It can appear for an exam. If you do some selection, or if you want to ask a CV for you, it can prepare a CV for you also. Next is basically artificial super intelligence. These are the machine, basically an intelligence that is much smarter than the best human brains and can basically work in different fields. And that is where we will find Elon Musk, also the one who basically built the ChatGPT, are worried about, because they need to know how basically we need to basically do in a proper way and protect the human race. And it should not happen that these machines become too powerful and can be detrimental to the human beings. We should not create a Frankenstein for ourselves, right? So that is why they are quite worried and thinking that this has to be done in a proper way, the artificial super intelligence machines, right? So this is how the globally that they're looking at. Any question till now in this slide? Yes, students. Okay. So what is artificial nano intelligence? These artificial intelligence systems are designed to solve one single problem and would be able to execute a single task really well. By definition, they have a narrow capabilities like recommendation, right? Or basically a product or an e-commerce user for predicting a winner. For example, you have seen the ANI, if you ask basically what is the basically the price for a Nike, this particular shoe, it will go and search and provide you the price of that shoe. Similarly, for example, if you give a single task, it is able to perform. For example, if you ask them to find a song of Kishore Kumar, a particular song, it will go and search and provide you and find you the song for you and can also play it for you. And what is artificial general intelligence? It is defined as an AI which has a human level of cognitive function across wide variety of domains, such as language processing, image processing, and computation, functioning and reasoning, and so on. So as you can see, it basically able to think like human and basically have the reasoning capability and able to basically provide better information to you. And what is artificial superintelligence, ASI? An artificial superintelligence ASI system would be able to surpass all human capabilities. This would include decision making, taking rational decisions, and even include things like making better art and building emotional relationship. So this research is still going on. So we don't have such machines at this moment yet. But as you know, there are also a lot of basically concerns about this ESI. Any questions, students, till now? Hello, students, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So examples of weak and strong AI. So anybody can give a strong and example of a strong and weak AI? So what we have learned that artificial intelligence or AI is categorized into three: generalized learning, reasoning, and problem solving. And AI can adopt, reason, and provide solutions, right? So weak AI focus on one task, strong AI focus on what? Tell me, students. On multiple things and basically has got a power of imagination, recognition, and reasoning capability, right, of human beings, and more than that. So by the definition, the weak AI is also called ANI, or example of computer can programming is play to chess along with the others, and based on the chess moves, it can also automatically adapt to that and make some changes. So, or if you have seen the card games or any other games, also based on the you can play with an basically a machine, right? Or basically you can play with an AI. Now the strong AI of AGI and ASI. So such machines are basically are in friction. Basically the ASI, of course, the AGI, we have got the chat GPT that has come up. So there's a lot of research is happening on this. Right? Students, any questions? So what are the advantages of AI? So what it does, it basically reduces the human error, because humans are prone to error. And that is where using AI, we can see lot of advantage what we have seen. Now in the industry also, why they want to go for an AI is that in long term, basically the cost will come down, because there is no human effort is required to do that, using basically algorithm logic and also the machine learning. And based on that, the machine can do the work on its own. And this is available 24/7, because as humans, we need to take some rest. We need to go out with our friends, watch movies, play, and have food, right? So we cannot work 24/7. Whereas these machines or robots can work 24/7, and that is basically the major advantage what we can see. Next is helps in the repetitive work. What happens when there is repetitive work? The humans are prone to some errors, whereas these machines basically can do the same work again and again. And most important thing is that we can automate the whole process also. Right? Just give me 1 minute. Let me have some water, because you are not speaking and I'm speaking and got thirsty. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I'm back now. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is happening is that you can see the digital assistants also, right? Now, these are basically, for example, a chatbot is helping you, or you can see basically without any human. I hope most of you have seen what his chatbot is, right? Maybe if you have got some problem, you have got the basically chatbot helping you to resolve it. For example, in the bank like HDFC Bank, or if you go for basically 24/7, those are available and they can provide you digital assistance. Next is it improves security and efficient communication too also. So this is some of the advantage of AI. Of course, this is not the full laundry list. So as you can see, we are getting a lot of benefits. Now I can give you my some of the practical experience when I was in China, one of the world's largest BMW factory. When I went there. There are basically a lot of processes in the assembly line. What they're using is basically using an AI, where human effort is not there to recognize if any kind of errors are there in any of the sub-assembly material, or basically using the kind of AI, they're basically trying to define what are basically the based on the module they want to produce, what are the subcomponents that need to be fixed if there is like make to stock and make to order are there, right? When make to order is there, using the AI, they're defining the basically some of the parts also, specific parts, and they also can be put into the assembly line. Now, generally, if you find in large those kind of car manufacturing, when it happens, those are made to stock, that basically they have the similar kind of basically the cars that are coming out one after another. And you will find, for example, there are multiple variation of the cars. For example, you have got version 1, version 2, version 3, right? Now, you will find basically they will have maybe after 4 cars of version 1, another 2 cars of version 2 will be coming in. So they need to basically get all the basically the spares, the subcomponents, each of the areas where they need to be, the assembly need to be done. They have to keep it everything ready, because it's a continuous assembly line that is moving, and they are basically fixing those cars while those cars are there in the basically in the assembly line that are moving, right? So it's basically a phenomenon, things that all the things in the precision that need to be done, and all those things are monitored and basically driven by basically the AI, which is helping them for as a smart factory to work on those manufacturing of those cars. When basically I was in Universal Studio, I've been there, that is in LA in USA. Now, if you see how the movies were, as you see in the Hollywood movies, where most of the movies are made, right? They have got basically has created kind of a city by itself, right? You have seen the Bumblebee car movie also. There are so many movies that you have seen, right? Now, for example, if you want to have, in case of particular, for example, the rain that has to come. Now, based on from which direction the rain will come, and based on that, how the shooting will be done, so that it shows that basically how effective the storm is, or this thing, all has been done using the artificial intelligence to show the maximum effect on the humans. For example, if you see the movie of some of the movies you have seen, right? The animations, those has been done, right? So you will find basically using the machine learning and AI, how basically those composition of those movies has been done. Next is basically what happens in Netflix on this thing, based on the when you are stopping and watching those movies, right? Now the author or the producer take into account which are the basically the part of the movie the people are liking it the most, or which are the movie section or basically serial or web series, right, where basically the people are spending more time. Now, based on that, they will create kind of based on the database, they will next basically the serial or basically the web series they create, they are all dependent on this. So as you can see, the day-to-day life, what you are doing, whether you are aware or unaware, those information is collected, and based on those information, what happens, you are basically watching those kind of movies. So any questions, student? Hello, student, any questions before I move on to the next slide? Any advantages from AI you want to provide? Yes, students. Hello. Hello, students. You want to give an example of an AI or an advantage of AI? What you have seen? Yes, student. I want you to please come out from your ideas. I want to listen your ideas, what you have got. What are the advantages of AI that you think?
Good afternoon, sir. So I felt that recommendation system, so that is really advantage, because once I start doing online shopping and all, so it will give me lot of recommendations, similar kind of products. It will be giving a recommendation continuously, that too. So that is advantage I felt. So
Yeah.
whenever I say I like this kind of purse, so the handle is silver, and then the design, whatever I specify, so continuously I'll be getting a recommendations on that, including the colors or design or whatever I ask. So that is advantage I felt, recommendation system.
Thank you, Rekha. In fact, if you go to the Titan basically site, right? In fact, they provide kind of a recognition. For example, you want to buy a chain, or you want to buy a bangles or earrings, right? Whether it fits or not, using your AI, right? It basically recognizes your face or your hand or your neck, and then basically shows to you how it looks like. So you can see there is a difference. There is a paradigm shift how the shopping has started. Now, during the COVID also, people are not going to the showroom, and you are not going to the showroom or Tani's showroom, right? Now, what is happening using that AI that gives you kind of a feeling how this bangle will fit into my hand, how these earrings I will look when I basically wear this. Now you are getting a kind of a feeling, and based on that, online you can basically order those things. Isn't that basically the way of shopping, or this thing has got changed? Right? So these are some of the advantage that you can see using AI we are getting. Yes. Any more examples, please? What are the advantage of AI, or what you are? Yes, students. Anyone want to volunteer? Okay, let me share my screen again. Just to give you an example, now today we have got India-Pakistan match, right? That is going to start in few hours. Now think of that using all the AI. There are any criminals in the field recognition, right? They can basically identify that person. And then basically the security guard can take a proper action and basically help those people who are present into the stadium or around the world that there is no stoppage of the plane. Similarly, using basically the concept of AI, as you can see, right? They try to check what are basically kind of, if you see when a golf plays a golf, right? Using the basically the flow of the wind, or basically how it, when you make a shot, basically what is his chance of winning. So they play into those basically in area, basically in the computer to check themselves and perfect themselves before they come and start playing. Similarly, the cricketers also, they use a lot of AI because they wanted to check regarding the swing or opponent, what are the kind of delivery they can bowl. and how basically they can able to bat on that, or basically how the fielding setting will be done, right? So they can have a predictive analytics based on the data that has been happened from the previous matches. If a player has been playing also, what kind of shots he generally hits, and then basically what are his weaknesses, one can try to identify, and what are the favorite shots or which areas he plays, then we can put the fielders in those areas. So as you can see, it is in the sports also, lot of usage of AI now is happening. So just wanted to let you know, so you can see how important the AI has become. Okay. Now, some of the disadvantage of AI, that is basically cost overruns. In fact, one of the most important things, student, is the dearth of talent. You have to understand, I interview hundreds of people to find a correct person, right? Because there is a huge dearth of talent, and if you work hard, sky is also not the limit for you, because the industry is looking for talents. Next is lack of practical products, because as you can see, it is still evolving, and to get into good AI project will be really, really good, and you will have a really good hands-on experience. And some of the potential of misuse I have told you regarding the facial recognition. If they can basically create basically a machine of death, right? They can just go and using the facial recognition, there will be no stoppage of killing or harming those persons. Any questions, student? So uses of AI in business. So the applications are in the deep learning applications, predictive analytics. Now, in case of predictive analytics, as you know, using the data captured from the previous usage, or basically the data that basically they have gathered, and based on that, they can basically create a predictive analytics and basically analyze, and which can help the business, and also basically help to lower the cost. For example, if you think of an NTPC plant, right? It has got multiple devices in the areas where people are also not there, in distant places. Now, you think of windmills, for example, it is basically places where generally there are very less people, or places where no people at all. Using the predictive analytics or diagnosis, you can find out this basically subcomponent or the part need to be replaced. Now, if they replace it on a right time, then there is no stoppage of that machine. Now, if they don't do it, what happens? The machine stops. And basically to turn on the machines and also to send the people, so there will be a lot of wastage of time, and the cost will basically, you are not going to get revenue out of that for a few days, and which basically revenue if you do not get, or if you do not have earning, what happens? Your loss will incur more. Your profit will come down. Or basically it will be, for example, if the windmill stop generating the power, just giving an example, or basically NTPC transformer, there is basically in the remote places, it is there, it is not serviced at this correct time. What happens? It's stoppage. So the electricity generating from those will basically stop, and for that period you don't have any electricity, then you have to restart it, and that also takes time. The starting time of those machines will also be there, and the cost will be there. One way you are not getting revenue, that is basically, and also other way, your cost for running that will also go up. So the company or the firm will incur more cost and will also generate less revenue, so the profit will come down. So you can understand how important the predictive analytics is there, and with the huge amount of data that is getting generated, one need to do a proper predictive analysis, and which can really help the organization or the humans for this. Next is most important is the classification, clustering of data. So you have structured, unstructured data, and how you're going to classify it, how you're going to cluster it to basically get your better output of those. Next is the information interaction, how you're going to basically have those information that you're going to extract, whatever you are gathering. Next is, as you can, we have seen that speech to text. For example, you are talking to the machine or your laptop, it basically converted into a text so that you don't have to type those things. Next is text to speech also. Then image recognition, you have seen how image recognition can help you. For example, simple thing in your mobile phone itself, using your facial recognition, it can start open the mobile, right? Otherwise it will not do. Then you can do planning, scheduling, and optimization of the whole business processes, and all those things can be used using AI. And robotics and expert systems, last but not in the list, in this overall list, but those are also really helps, right? So these are some of the uses of AI in the business. So from your experience, can you give some uses of AI? Yes, student. Give me some examples of what are the uses of AI from your experience. Okay, let me share. I want the class to be more interactive, right? I hope all of you are able to see my screen. Please let me know if you're not able to see. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now, uses of AI in healthcare. See, in hospitals and in medical or paramedical, we have seen a huge importance of AI. In case of administration, telemedicine, for example, where during the COVID days, you have seen using the AI, how it has helped the patients, right? The doctor from the remote places, able to basically provide medicines using the AI. For example, what we have seen is that in USA, a lot of research is also happening where using kind of your family history, your interaction with people, your basically the food you intake, right? Or basically where you're traveling. Based on that, they can basically predict what kind of disease you can have and basically precaution to that. And also what we find is the insurance company in some of the Western countries, basically based on that, charge insurance premium also. Next is basically it helps in diagnosis. For example, if you're some of the if you're in a family, if you got any of your relatives or parents has got heart disease or basically diabetics, right? So it look into those areas, maybe what kind of work you're doing, what industry you're working with it. For example, if you're working in the IT industry, that means you will have less exercise, or maybe you will be basically more of a sitting work. So some of your BP may go up, So I'm just giving, so based on some of the parameters, algorithm and this thing, they basically work out what kind of a disease one can have also. Next is, I have already told you that robot assisted surgery, those are basically happening around the world, where the doctors basically wanted to be absolutely successful, use robots to do the surgery because humans are prone to errors. Next is monitor of vital stats. Now, some of the statistics and other things they want to monitor, and using also distributed ledger or blockchain. There are also how basically that data also need to be monitored using the AI that are done around the world, and especially on the banking areas. Maybe I will talk about the blockchain on some another session to give you an example. Next is basically the error reductions, the fraud detections, and research and study and chronic care management. These have been done. Now, as you can see, based on basically your AI, you can able to find whether there are basically any fraud that has happened. Those are also can be identified, and basically proper action can be taken. Right. Next is basically in research and study. Also, this plays a very, very important role. Now, if you know using AI during the COVID times, for example, a vaccine, it takes around 10 to 15 years to come out with a vaccine, right? Now, during the COVID times, you've seen that so fast the vaccine was there in the market, right? That is all because of the AI, right? So using the AI and machine learning, they're able to basically get those things, fix those errors, fix basically and the innovation, given this boost on or accelerate the whole process, and that's why they're able to get the vaccine so fast in the market. Yes, student, any question, please? Any other use case you want to tell me into the healthcare? Yes, student, because this is not basically the overall list. This is some of the basically use cases in AI in healthcare. Any other you want to mention? Now, uses of AI in e-commerce. So what we can do is, as Rekha, you have correctly mentioned, it provides you better recommendation in e-commerce, because what happens, you are able to, using your previous searches or based on the previous purchases, it able to provide to predict what are the things that in e-commerce sites you can able to purchase, right? Or your purchase understand that it provide a list of things, so you don't have to search those things again, and you can compare the price and other things also. So what we can say is that it provides a better recommendation, and this is usually the first example that people give, right, when asked about the business application of AI. So this is where you have got a much better experience, because you have been day to day, you have been buying these things. And most large e-commerce players have incorporated artificial intelligence to make the product recommendation that users might be interested in, which has led to a considerable increase in their bottom lines. Bottom lines means the overall sale they're able to make. Say top line is the revenue, bottom line is basically the profit that they're able to generate by able to sell the product more. Next, what we see, the chatbots. So this is another famous examples based on the artificial intelligence. Chatbots across industries are used, and every other websites you can see that either you go to Amazon, you go to HDFC Bank, any of the site you go, you will find some smart chatbots able to help you. These chatbots are now serving customers in odd hours and peak hours as well, and removing the bottlenecks of limited human resources. So the human resources can do much better work. So any other example you want to give in the e-commerce? Yes, students. Okay, I move on to the next one. Next is filtering of spam and fake reviews. Now, in case of basically e-commerce sites, the people, if they give fake reviews and this thing and people read on to this, what will happen? The sale will come down. So they basically monitor this kind of reviews also, scan them, and after that, what you will find is that they will eliminate those spams or basically using the NLP, right? They will also able to know whether any suspicious activities or basically somebody wants to damage the e-commerce sites or basically defame the e-commerce sites, right? So any other competitor want to do that or not. So using that, they will also basically eliminate those risks. Optimizing search, all the e-commerce sites depends upon the user searching, right? So they will try to optimize the search based on the thousands with some of the parameters and to ensure that users find the exact product and they're looking for. For example, if you go to our Nike this thing website, and if you are looking into, then Nike has got multiple products, right? From wristband to shoes to sports gears, right? To multiple things. Now, if you want to, based on your social media searches or basically kind of videos you're seeing, maybe you're looking at a tracksuit, you've been searching for a few days on the tracksuits. Now, if you go to the Nike e-commerce site, and it will basically able to show you based on your past history, past searches, that the tracksuits will be coming first, right? And not the shoes. Generally, if you go think of Nike, think of shoes, right? But this time, if you have been searching on tracksuit for this thing, it will see the tracksuits will be getting populated. Multiple different tracksuits getting populated. So your search becomes much, much better. And AI is being used to predict basically the demand of different products in different time frames. As I was telling you, the supply chain plays an important role for any manufacturing, right? Now, AI plays a very, very important role. Now, for example, depending upon the product I need to manufacture, what kind of raw material I will require, what kind of subcomponents I require, what are the kind of, for my assembly, what are the ingredients I will require, right? Now, based on my BOM is basically even the bill of material, if it is make to order or make to stock. Based on that, what are the things that I will require so that there is a continuous, basically, production line is going on. There is no issue on my stoppage of my manufacturing, so that at optimized level, I can have my product manufactured and also able to deliver to the customer at the right time. Because if I delay my supply to the customer, the customer can look for the other vendors and I will be out of the market. Similarly, if I don't get the material at right time, my production line will get stopped. And if I buy too many things, too much of product, what will happen? There is a cost of carrying, and also my inventory cost will go up, and there will be if the customers stop buying from me or changes, or there is a change in the preference, or there is a trend changes, what will happen? I will pile up with huge inventory, and then basically I will get a big loss. So when you're doing a manufacturing, when you're producing, when you're in a business, you need to look into multiple parameters. Because of those parameters, you need to basically think how you can optimize your production, how you can optimize the business processes so that you are in the race in this game, right? Because if your cost goes up, your competitor will basically throw you out of the market. If you are not able to get your material at the right time, your production will stop. And that means you will not able to serve your customer, and the customer will be unhappy and will switch to the other vendor. So you have to understand how important you need to be there, and you have to have all the processes synchronized in such a way that you are absolutely able to serve the customer at the right time with the minimum cost. Right? Any questions, student? Now I talk about the uses of AI in human resources. Now, basically, as you know, building the work culture, AI is being used to analyze the employees based on the data, what kind of preference they have got, what kind of work they want to do. It is always better to provide the employee the right kind of work or mindset he is having, the passion the employee is having, whether he or she has got, then that will have the best result of that person. Similarly, in hiring also, basically AI is being used to basically predict whether he or she is the best fit for that job, right? Because with the CVs, they will check the multiple parameters, the previous history of work, what is the qualification, what he has done, or what is his preferences, and based on that, the person can be hired. Next is that also, if there are any basically in matter of seconds, there will be thousands of CVs to whether which CV is basically best fit for that job that need to be done. Because as you know, the companies hires and want to have the best resources, best fit for that kind of a job, so that the employee is also happy and also they get the best output from that employee. And human has got bias, or maybe basically have some human errors which can be associated with that in the hiring cycle. Now, this all can be eliminated when we use an AI. Right? For example, if an HR manager has got some bias to some caste, race, or religion, now he or she can basically, when the CV is getting selected, can provide some kind of a bias into that. But if we're using the AI, then those bias will be eliminated, and we can have the right person for the correct job also allocated to that person. Isn't it, student? Yes, student.
Yes, sir.
The robots in AI. So, for example, in the assembly line, what we have seen is that AI, along with the advanced vision system, can help in real-time course correction. It can help the robots to learn which path is best for the certain processes while it is in operation. So, when I was working in ABB, as you know, ABB is the world's largest manufacturer of robots in the world, right? And we have basically in ABB, for example, there is a huge, basically, factory where those are getting manufactured, and the clients are basically we are selling it to the clients. Now we need to basically define how this robots will be working and how this can be best utilized, because one robots would be also be talking to the other robots within a proper assembly line or this thing, right? So if there is any kind of an error that is happening in one of these robots, it can affect other robots also, any malfunctioning of one robot. So one has to basically, using the AI, right? One need to basically detect those any issue, error, and then they need to be basically rectified at the fastest time, so that we can get the best output from those. Next is in the customer service. The AI-enabled robots are being used in the customer service capacity in retail and hospitality industry. This robots uses generally the NLP to interact with customers intelligently and like a human beings, right? So what happens is that in case of the robots, you will find basically the similar, basically, like what are the humans knows, they will put those informations or the problem solving capability. Then basically they will or insert or import the programming into that. If this is the condition, how it can basically look into it and how it can resolve. So providing them with reasoning capability, and also basically how it can diagnose Excuse me. Sorry, I've got a throat infection. Excuse me. And basically help to diagnose the issues and how it can basically help in intelligently to resolve those problems, right? More basically, so this system's able to learn also from the ongoing continuous improvements that is happening. So that is why you will find not only the data that is fed, this machines or robots also basically helps to learn from the continuous work they're getting, and basically based on that, with the help of machine learning, and they became more and more powerful, able to resolve those issues. Okay, I move on to the packaging. For example, in packaging industry, you will find the robots are basically used how within whatever the packing material is there, how at a best way to pack those things at a cheaper and more accurate way, so that using the minimum wastage of the packing material. In the packing industry, the more the wastage, more is the loss. So one has to constantly monitor those things so that there is bare minimum loss into the packaging, right? Because packaging also has a cost. Now, nowadays you will see there are basically a lot of robots or basically like chatbot or this thing sold in the market using the open source systems, so that you can easily have your programs into that and you can enhance the capability. So this is how you will be able to increase your overall experience, and you can basically tweak the machines as per your own requirement, right? So with this, I wanted to stop for today. If you have got any questions, please let me know. And from next session, we are going to go to a very, very interesting topics. So I will request all of you to join on time. But if you have got some questions, please let me know before we close the call session today. Yes, students. So students, if you don't have any questions, so have a great weekend and see you next session. Bye for now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.